Hello, what about? I am Pedro, and today I will be talking about my method of running RPGs using moodboards. Many of the tools I'll use today can be employed for other purposes, but today I will be focusing on role-playing games. The music I'll be using today was made by Miguel at Miguel Cosma, check his channel. I have to mention Kane's skill for his use of images that are not exactly traditional RPG maps. He's always an inspiration for me. A moodboard is a document used in animation, video game design, and other visual media. It's usually intended as a tool for the team during the development of a project. It mainly consists of images, but it might include color palettes, examples of typography, slogans, and other visual elements. The objective of a moodboard is to give a visual cohesion to the set project and to compile references and ideas. This is the result that I have in mind. It is a moodboard, but you can also use it to play, basically as a map. Some of the images are there just to paint a picture, but others can be used to move your tokens around. The first step of my method would be to create a public Pinterest board. To download the images, I will be using JDownloader. So it would be useful to divide the regular board into separate subboards. JDownloader is going to respect and generate folders for each of those subboards. It is also important not to copy the link of a subboard, but to copy the link of the full board in order to paste it into JDownloader. Once you copy the link, JDownloader should be able to automatically start parsing the images. Sometimes it doesn't work, or you can have it deactivated, so you can also paste it manually. You can see that JDownloader has parsed the links and distributed them in several folders. Each corresponds to a board or subboard. And you can select some of them to start the download of the images. You can also select the option Start All Downloads, so everything in this tab starts downloading. I will be just selecting two of the folders because I'm interested only in the locations and creatures. For the next step, I will be using another piece of software called PureRef. This piece of software is super simple but also super powerful. I will be dragging the locations, just all the images, into PureRef. And you can see after importing them, PureRef also distributes them, but I will be selecting just the ones that I am interested in. The scene I have in my mind is a desert one, so I will be deleting everything that doesn't fit. Okay, these are my images. Now I can select them all. And under images, I can normalize their size. This operation just changes the size of the images, so they are more similar. PureRef never changes the ratio of the images, so they cannot be deformed, just resized. Now I can select all the images again. And under images, I can arrange them optimally. This way I'm left with a setup of images that imitates the proportions of the canvas. But I will be moving them a bit more. For a graphic artist, for example, you will be okay with this disposition of images because they fit the screen perfectly. But yeah, I will be moving them. Because I want to have a bunch of playable spaces and then some reference images. I will be deleting everything that doesn't fit and also changing them in size so they are not homogeneous. You can see this gray area. This is the canvas, and this defines the area we are working with. I'll go into Canvas, Optimize, so the canvas fits perfectly the disposition of images that we have. Now I can save my scene, and I actually have a file, but it is empty, so I will save over it. Once I have my file saved, I will also export an image. Save, export, scene, it will generate a PNG, so I save it in images. This is the export scene setup, and because I have this checkmark marked, the resolution will be proportional, so it will be deformed. And I'm going to change this to half of the size, and as I said, it will respect the proportions, so the other number will change to compensate. It is also interesting to note that I'm not checking the background, so it will be transparent. The cool thing is that you don't have to keep in mind where the images are stored because they are inside the file. So you can see here that this file is quite heavy. Now this is the asset manager for Bear Rodeo. It's an extension that I can show you how to use in other videos if you want. But I will be creating a new collection so I can store all the files for this tutorial. It's going to be called example collection. And now I will drag my moodboard. There you have it. I will now check the grid size on the image, but I feel that the default is pretty cool. What I have in mind for this image. For an image bigger than this or maybe smaller, I will adjust the grid size so I can use the bigger images to play over them as if they were the map. With a clear scene you can just drag and drop the moodboard because it is already stored in the map layer. And yeah, I'm going to check again the grid, but as we saw before, it actually works perfectly with this size. We can hide things in this moodboard because they may be shown at some different time in the session. And yeah, this is just the way to drag regular fog in Bear Rodeo. Keep in mind that Bear Rodeo has other fog tools that you can add. Okay, so now I have Adobe Illustrator open and I am going to show you how easy it is to make tokens quickly. This is a file that I use for a Star Wars game. Yeah, to import images, make sure that you have a visible layer selected that you want to work with. And you don't have to mind about the size, like the actual size of the image for the character. You just put a shape in front of the image and adjust it. And keep in mind also that you have to have a shape that has fill. Once you have them both selected, just right click and make clipping mask. And yeah, that easy. Now you open this window, it's called Asset Export. You drag any asset that you want to export. And I recommend you change the scale if you want to be efficient because this scale is huge anyway for a token. You rename it here. So I'm just calling example. And then you can also write an extension for the tokens. I mean for any asset you export really. I'm going to rename it as token. So that's the extension that I use for NPCs. If it was a player, I will call it PC token, for example. Yeah, with it selected, you have to select it like this. You click on export and you just find the folder you want to use as the export folder. Keep in mind that everything that you have selected is going to export with the same extension, but with the name that you give it in the Asset Export Manager. Back in Bear Rodeo, I open my Asset Manager. I will actually click on the Characters tab. I have 2 characters that shouldn't be there. And I just drag and drop. And this is an important thing to change, right? You click on the Size tab and set columns. I will set this as 1 column wide because he's a regular character. There's a difference between setting columns and rows for hexes, not for other kinds of shapes, right? Not for squares or circles, but for hexes it is important to do this and not the row size. Here you can see that this is a square grid that you're using for any measure, even if you had the grid activated on hexes. So if you make a hex as tall as a square, you see that the corners poke out on the sides. So the correct thing to do is to make it as wide as a square. This is for hexes with this same orientation, okay? So yeah, you can see that I can drag and drop the character, and it fits quite nice with the size that I gave him. I can also show you how to do rims. I'm going to start a similar process, but for creating a DM screen. So this is something that you're going to see, but not the players. So I'm going to manage the size as I show you. And I use these two images because they are the quote-unquote maps that I'm going to use. I don't need the moodboard because I'm going to see the moodboard on Bear Rodeo, but I need these maps because I will use them to know the placement of enemies, for example. So I place my enemy, manage the size and stuff like that. And now I open Notion. This is my note-taking application of choice. I recommend you use Notion. I can show you a lot of cool stuff that you can do here. Basically, I'm going to do stat blocks for ICRPG. Don't worry about the system because it's just an example. But yeah, I'm going to quickly write a new character or enemy. One thing that I recommend is to use emojis or symbols so you can visually see all your information without having to read. Now, with my stats complete, I have several options, but I will tell you the fastest one. You could totally use the clipping tool, the snipping tool, right? Create a new clipping, and just this button here to copy your clipping, so you don't have to save it anywhere, because it's like a temporal file anyway. But the fastest thing is to press the screenshot key, and now you have your full screenshot that you can paste onto your software. And don't worry because I am using two screens and the screenshot is for the two full screens. Now make sure that your screenshot is selected, just the image that you want to clip, and press C and hold it while you drag. This is the way you clip the stuff in PureRef. Remember to have it selected, right? To clip it. You cannot clip something that you don't have selected, so don't worry about the images that you overlap. Even if I am pressing C, I cannot clip images that I don't have selected. With this clean clipping, I'm going to manage the size of these two images and make them visible. And this is super cool because now I can just put them in the map. Oh, see, I moved the map, but don't worry, you can press Ctrl C. Yeah, you can move them around the map and copy them and paste them in the places that you have enemies. Imagine that those are different rooms. Don't worry, you just have the nodes for this room and you can zoom in and zoom out at any time. You can also add nodes with Ctrl N, and if you add a node with an image selected, this node is parented to the image, so you can move them both. In the context menu with the right button of the mouse or pressing Ctrl R, you can also lock your canvas, so you cannot move your images or even select them. I will show you now one of my DM screens. Yeah, you see, I am using clippings from Notion, emojis to represent different objects, so you can write emojis if you press Windows and dot. I hope this video was helpful and these ideas were cool for you. I will probably update this video if I find some way to make it better or more visually attractive. Thanks again to Miguel at Miguel Cosma for the music. Check him and other things that I use in this video in the description. Bye.